Hello and welcome. My name is Bridget Williams, and welcome to the Bay State Banner Weekend Review. And our first story, 60 years after Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. led a historic march from Roxbury to Boston Common, community leaders are bringing that moment back to life. The 1965 Freedom Rally, once a call for action on civil rights and school segregation, is being commemorated this month with a citywide series of events organized by Embrace Boston and 12th Baptist Church. Amari Paris-Jeffries, head of Embrace Boston, says the rally's theme of housing, poverty, racial equity, and education are just as urgent today, especially with recent political efforts to erase the conversations around race and history. This moment feels more important now than ever before, he said. Embrace Boston will host a commemorative rally on April 26th, beginning with the dedication at 11 a.m., officially renaming the Charles Street entrance to Boston Common as 1965 Freedom Rally Square. The rally itself will follow at the Parkman Bandstand from 12 to 2:30 p.m. At 12th Baptist Church, where Dr. King once attended and preached while studying at Boston University, is planning a full weekend of events. A virtual prayer service Friday night, a children's book reading Saturday morning at Hester Hall, a Legacy in Action conversation featuring Martin Luther King III and Susanna Heschel Saturday afternoon, and a special worship service on Sunday morning. The event also marks 12th Baptist's 185th anniversary, centered around the theme Built to Last, a reflection of the church's lasting commitment to justice. Much of what Dr. King stood for has yet to be realized, she said. We used to sing, "We shall overcome," but we still haven't overcome. Next up, in local politics, we are seeing the Boston's District 7 City Council seat now officially up for grabs. And the race is already getting crowded. Councilor Tanya Fernandez Anderson has stepped down after agreeing to plead guilty in a federal case where prosecutors say she gave a staffer a $13,000 bonus, then took a $7,000 kickback. Her resignation opens the door to what's shaping up to be Boston's most competitive district race of 2025. So far, 7 candidates have filed with the state's Office of Campaign and Political Finance. Saeed Abdulkareem, who directs civic engagement efforts at African Community Development of New England, is making his second run for council. He's already raised over $25,000. There's Saeed Ahmed, who leads United Somali Youth and works with the Somali Development Center, and he's raised more than $35,000 in his second campaign attempt. Maverick Afonso, Director of External Affairs at the state's Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, reported over $25,000 in March alone. Samuel Hurtado, former aide to Mayor Kim Janey and now the city's supplier diversity business manager, launched his campaign in January and had over $15,000 by the end of February. Chad Court, a business owner and transportation specialist with Boston Public Schools, has filed to run but hasn't yet reported campaign contributions. Natalie Huba Sutherland, who works with Bank of America, is in the race as well, but she has also not reported fundraising totals. Reverend Minyard Culpepper, who ran for state senate in 2022, is back on the ballot, and Reverend Roy Owens, a perennial candidate known for his megaphone on the car campaigning, in 2021 he finished second in the preliminary with 1,300 votes, showing just how low the bar can be in a crowded field. Low turnout is a known factor in these local races. In 2021, just 20% of voters participated in the preliminary. That's 7,600 people. With 8 more candidates in the race, it may only take a few hundred votes to make it past the September primary. But to do that, candidates will need serious organizing power, volunteers, a campaign staff, fundraising, door knocking, and a clear turnout strategy. So for voters in Roxbury, Dorchester, the South End, and in Fenway, get ready. The door knocking starts soon. Registered candidates will receive nomination papers by April 30th, and in the at-large race, all 4 incumbents are running again. Council President Rutzi Lugin, Aaron Murphy, Julie Mejia, and Henry Santana. Challengers include Alexandra Valdez, Marvin Mathalia, Will Onoha, and Reggie Stewart, Michael Grant, and John Foy. And former District 3rd Councilor Frank Baker is reportedly considering a run for at-large as well. In our next story, a push to bring rent control back to Massachusetts is gaining momentum. On Monday, legislators, tenants, landlords, and housing justice advocates gathered at the State House to support a new bill that would limit rent increases to 5% ban, no-fault evictions, and allow cities and towns to stabilize rents and protect tenants. Supporters say his bill is about slowing displacement, especially in communities where rent hikes are forcing people out of their homes. Community organizer Mercedes Ryan noted that Massachusetts has the second highest cost of living in the country, and half of the renters are spending more than a third of their income on rent. She said, housing is just a horrific crisis right now, and the shelters are full. Representative Sam Montano says she's seeing a wave of displacement in Jamaica Plain, especially among older residents and people of color. This isn't the first time rent control has been debated in the state. In 1996, a statewide ballot measure banned it, but at the time, Boston, Brookline, Cambridge, and Somerville all had rent control in place, and voters in those communities supported keeping it. Now, if the legislature doesn't pass this new proposal, backers say they're ready to take the fight back to the ballot in 2026. At the briefing, Kate Zanata, a single mom and teacher from East Hampton, shared how her rent jumped 35% after a real estate firm bought her building, and how she was told it would go up 52% unless she signed a new lease within 2 weeks. "What choice do I have?" she said. "I thought I did everything right, but it's still not enough." Supporters say this legislation could help prevent homelessness, keep families housed, and finally give communities a tool to push back against unaffordable rent hikes. In our next story, in Roxbury last week, researchers, city workers, and community leaders came together for a different kind of academic conference. One focused not just on ideas, but on impact. At the 2025 Boston Area Research Initiative Conference, hosted by Northeastern University in collaboration with Roxbury Community College, the focus wasn't just on data or studies. It was on people and how research can uplift communities when done in true partnership with them. Organizers call the approach civic research, and it's all about putting community voices front and center. Instead of researchers deciding what matters, community members help shape the focus. And just as importantly, they help drive how the results are used. Kim Lucas, Associate Director at BARI, called it a model of true partnership, one where the community doesn't just participate in research, they help lead it. The conference tackled topics ranging from climate solutions and economic mobility to zoning laws and sanitation systems, but all through the civic lens. Daniel O'Brien, BARI's director, says research can be a powerful tool, especially when it's not just academic, but it's actionable. One of the keynote speakers, retired Paralympian Anna Johannes, challenged attendees to look beyond the data and empower the people behind the numbers. And that resonated with local organizers. Renee Mardones of the Dudley Street Neighborhood Initiative said that too often, community voices are left out of research spaces, but not this time. The conference also took place under a tense national climate, with recent federal efforts under President Donald Trump's administration rolling back support for equity-focused research, especially in higher education. Still, O'Brien told attendees this was no time to back down. He urged researchers to push forward, not in spite of the moment, but because of it. From Roxbury to research labs, the message was very clear. Community-led solutions aren't just possible, they're powerful. Moving into our next story, across Boston, we are seeing some nonprofits facing major funding crises, all tied to President Trump's latest executive order targeting diversity, equity, and inclusion. The order, signed back in January, directs the federal agencies to cut off grants to organizations that promote DEI. And for groups like 826 Boston, that created a serious dilemma. 826 Boston, based in Roxbury, provides writing and tutoring support for K-12 students and publishes anthologies of their work. Each year, they receive about $250,000 from AmeriCorps, a federal program that helps place service members in schools as tutors. But under the new order, those tutors can no longer participate in any classroom lesson that even mentions racial discrimination or student identity. Executive Director Corey Yarborough said, "We determined we wouldn't be able to fulfill our mission. As an organization, we determined that we are DEI." The nonprofit is now walking away from that funding, and Yarborough says that they're urgently seeking new sources of revenue to keep their work going in Boston schools. And they are not alone. Community Development Corporations, or CDCs, across Massachusetts are also feeling the squeeze. According to Emily Haber, Executive Director of the Massachusetts Association of CDCs, some organizations have lost food security grants, while others have had housing or cultural funding frozen or delayed. In the South End, Inquilinos Boricuas en Acción saw a $1 million HUD grant for a cultural center briefly frozen. In Dorchester, the Codman Square CDC is now suing HUD after funding was pulled from a green building retrofit project. Haber said, "It's chaos, it's intentional, and it's causing so much fear." Making matters worse, Trump's new tariff policies are driving up building costs, while layoffs at HUD have gutted staffing, making it harder to manage or respond to these changes. Even programs aimed at domestic violence prevention have taken a hit. At the Urban League of Eastern Massachusetts, a Department of Justice-funded clergy training initiative was frozen, then later reinstated. President Rahsaan Hall says, "For now, we appear to be okay." As for 826 Boston, Yarborough is calling on community members to step up, donate, buy books, or spread the word, because even without federal dollars, he says the mission remains the same. "I'm just glad we're in a position where we can take a stand," he said.
Greetings, viewers, and welcome to The Intersection, the place where ideas, events, and policy come together to shape the public health, safety, and vibrancy of our shared community. I'm your host, Suffolk County Sheriff Steve Tompkins, and together we'll examine issues of interest as we travel along the many different avenues that make up the intersection. In my role, my primary responsibility is the safe care and custody of the men and women who are remanded to our facilities by the courts. Every day in this work, I witness a multitude of complex factors that help shape the path that leads far too many people into incarceration. Conversely, we offer a wealth of opportunities that we can provide as a society that can not only help them get back on a positive track, but to divert others from following it altogether. We know that access to education, physical and mental health care, sustainable employment or lack thereof, and housing, among other things, play a major role in whether a person thrives and succeeds or falls into the cracks to struggle against the pull of the criminal legal system. I view corrections as a kind of nexus for all of these factors, an intersection of sorts, where we have the opportunity to provide the resources that can inform, educate, and act as a powerful force of prevention. I created the intersection to be an expansion of that effort to reach beyond our population, out past the walls of our institutions, and into the places where it can be of use to anyone and everyone. Our plan is to talk about a wide range of topics, ideas, and issues as diverse in subject as the people who make up our communities. So far, we've explained to you what a sheriff is and what they do. We've given you insight into the origins and effectiveness of historically black colleges and universities, or HBCUs, the sanctity and protections afforded by birthright citizenship, the dangers of returning to the spoils system, the important role of the three branches of government, the need to nurture and protect democracy, the power of music to effect social change, the need for practical life skills and education, and the role of positive programming for successful reentry. I look forward to exploring these and many other topics with the hope that we can help you, the viewer, to better understand and navigate our shared world. I thank you for tuning in once again, and I'll see you the next time at The Intersection.
In our next segment, let's get into climate change. We know it's getting hotter, and we know people are worried. So let's talk about it. Earlier this year, the World Meteorological Organization officially recognized 2023 as the hottest year on record, with the average global temperatures hitting about 1.55 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. The last 10 years were also the hottest ever recorded. And that kind of heat brings real consequences. More droughts, more floods, heat waves, and an increase in airborne diseases and poor air quality, especially in under-resourced communities already facing environmental inequality. And even though most people support bold climate action, many aren't talking about it. A 2022 study in Nature Communications found that up to 80% of Americans support strong climate policy, but most of us think we're in the minority. That silence is creating a gap between what we care about and what we can act on. So with Earth Day coming up on April 22nd, we at the Banner are flipping the script by launching a new community reporting series called Encyclopedia Climactica. It's simple. We want to hear your questions about climate change. If you have questions about flooding, you have questions about heat waves or climate change impact at all in your neighborhood, or if you're curious about the solutions people are talking about or whether they even work, no question is too small or too specific. Just email our science editor, Avery Bletchfield, at BayStateBanner.com. If your question is selected, we'll do the digging and report back with answers. This is your climate change conversation, and we're here for it. Next, let's look into some inspiring news for two Boston residents. This year's Boston Marathon is more than a race. It's a movement. Dorchester's Tanisha Tate will be running 26.2 miles with a mission to raise $12,000 for HealthWorks Community Fitness, the same gym that helped her turn her life around. After moving back to Boston to care for her parents, Tate says she's struggling with anxiety and depression, gaining over 100 pounds in 6 months. But a referral to HealthWorks by the Codman Square Health Center gave her a lifeline, and she ran with it. I lost 100 pounds, got off all my medications, and I finally felt like myself again, she said. Now I want to inspire other women, especially black women, that you can do this. She's now the gym's Director of Community Outreach and Engagement and is one of the hundreds of charity runners in this year's Boston Marathon. That program has raised millions for local causes since launching in 1989. Last year alone, charity runners raised over $45 million. This year, 174 nonprofits will benefit, and runners like Reynold Graves are joining the charge. Graves is running to raise $10,000 for the Lenny Zakim Fund, which supports social, economic, and racial justice efforts across Greater Boston. As a political consultant, he sees the race as a platform, not just to run, but to represent. Everyone needs allyship, he said. This is how we build bridges. For both Tate and Graves, there's also something deeper happening. They're reclaiming space in a sport that hasn't always felt inclusive. Graves credits Pioneers Runs Crew, a local group created by Sid Baptiste, with opening the doors to distance running in communities of color. He says it's powerful to see runners from Roxbury, Dorchester, and Mattapan meeting up in Franklin Park or on Mass Ave, claiming running as their own. And for Tate, it's personal. As a certified coach for 261 Fearless, a women's running group, she's helping other women of color use running as both movement and medicine. She's run races before, half marathons, 5Ks, and even qualified for the New York Marathon twice. But this will be her first long-distance race since coming home to Boston. And for her, there's no better way to return than with the Boston Marathon. Next, let's get into some sports where we get into our Boston Celtics beginning their quest for a 19th NBA title as the playoffs commence. After a dominant 61-21 regular season, securing the East number 2 seed behind Cleveland, Boston's first round opponent will be the Orlando Magic, who beat the Atlanta Hawks 120-95 to claim the 7th seed. The Green is 1-2 against the young Orlando team this year. The Magic defended the three better than anyone, and the Celtics shot fewer three-pointers in their matchups. Orlando likes the slow, physical half-court game, and we will see if they can respond to that tighter defense. The Green team's health is a key significant concern right now. We have Jaylen Brown with his knee, Drew Holiday with his shoulder, and Kristaps Porzingis with his ankle and leg injuries. While Peyton Pritchard's strong backcourt play offers a boost, the team's reliance on Porzingis and the potential need for more minutes from veteran Al Horford are crucial factors. The Celtics showcased their strength with a remarkable 33-8 road record, tying a historical mark set by the 1995-96 Chicago Bulls for the second best of all-time road record, and breaking the old team mark set by the 1972-73 and the 1974-75 Celtics teams. Their path to the finals likely involves a tough Eastern Conference Finals matchup against the Cavaliers, who hold home court advantage. Potential finals opponents include the top-seeded Oklahoma City Thunder, a team Boston struggled against in the regular season where we are only 0-2. Despite criticisms about their three-point heavy offense, the Celtics' championship's hopes hinge on the health of their key players and their defensive performance as they aim to repeat as NBA champions.
Check, 1, 2. The show goes on every night. Did you book your trip yet? Boston never gets old.
Turning to the WNBA draft, as expected, UConn's Paige Bueckers, fresh off of leading the Huskies to their record 12th national title, was the number 1 pick. Despite past knee injuries, the 6-foot star is poised to be a major attraction. The most intriguing story of this draft may be Dominique Malanga, the 19-year-old 6'6" center and second overall pick by the Seattle Storm. Scouts consider the Frenchwoman to be a future impact player. Notre Dame's Sonia Citron and USC's Kiki Iriafen went 3rd and 4th to Washington. Lithuania's Justi Jochita rounded out the top 5, making history as the Golden State Valkyries' first ever pick. Notably, the Mystics, Sun, and Sky heavily loaded up in the top 12 selections. In our last story, we talk about young people learning to budget and save and how it's never too early to start. That's the message from Dr. Tamira Lucas, a business professor at Coppin State University and a mom who's been teaching her daughter, Ryan, about money management since before high school. Ryan runs her own vending machine company, and her mom has a rule. 20% of her monthly income goes into savings and another 20% into investments. Lucas says when young people get money, their first thought is to often spend it. but learning to appreciate and grow money early can change their entire future. It's not just having money in your pocket, she says. It's about understanding how to make your money work for you, so you're not just working your whole life without enjoying the fruits of it. To help teens build that mindset, Lucas offers a year-by-year guide through high school. Freshman year is all about building the habit. Whether it's allowances, babysitting, or mowing lawns, saving even $5 a week helps teens build consistency and start setting financial goals tied to what they want to do after graduation. Sophomore year, it's time to get focused. With prom and other events on the horizon, Lucas recommends setting clear saving goals, especially as students begin picking up summer jobs. Tools like Opportune can help automate savings in small amounts. Lucas says $5 here and $10 there adds up before you even realize it. By junior year, students should have a bank account and be learning how to use it, including balancing and tracking spending. It's about getting ready for what's next, whether that's college or the workforce. And in senior year, Lucas says students should start thinking about investing. Many teens already make money through things like doing hair or nails, and she urges them not to waste it on quick purchases, but to think about long-term and think about building wealth. Because the earlier young people learn to manage money, the more power they have to shape their own future. All right, that's a wrap on this week's Bay State Banner Week in Review. My name is Brigé Williams. Thank you so much for joining. We will see you all next time.